Start streaming. It says starting receiving your content. You are live. The internet can totally see you now. It's loading. It's loading. It's there. Okay, let me get out of that. Yeah? I think it'll take a minute. Thank you very much, Scott. Okay, let me make sure this is running. Just on. Yeah, it says it's streaming now. What the hell? Well, that's like a totally new, different window thing here. Okay, now it's showing, I think. Yeah, I just clicked on the screen and it's showing. I apologize, everyone. This is awkward, I know. Thank you, Scott Hall. He's the reason I am now on the screen. And so it looks like it's working. Thanks a lot, Scott. Okay. Again, I apologize, everyone. I'm new to OBS. I literally just started using it yesterday with our little podcast. So, welcome to the stream. Excuse me for a minute while I am hearing myself live. Wrong screen. There we go. There. Now, isn't this a cool screen? This is the OBS, so it just like shows infinity. Like, look at all these brads. Isn't that just awesome? Okay, we are going to discuss this new paper, academic paper, by Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Never heard of Thessaloniki. I don't know. Is that a town? Is that a city? University College of London. I've heard of that. But anyway, this new paper, they already had a kind of like an executive summary up. Let me check it again. I tweeted it out. So let me check my tweets and find it. So I'll start from there. God, I tweet too damn much. Okay. They talk... Well, first, let's start with the title. Measuring Gamergate, a tale of hate, sexism, and bullying. So they've obviously reached their conclusions very quickly. Personally, I have issue with the hate word because it's thrown around so much. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep an open mind. It's a little bit of an odd title, though. We'll see. But they talk about how they measured 1.6 million tweets from 340,000 unique users. And that right there is a little bit significant because previously the only real data we had was from Chris, and I'm going to butcher his name, Cecilve, I think. I think his Twitter name is like Data Doodle or something like that. He did early on some assessment of Gamergate, and of course he got harassed for it too. I believe he showed over 250,000 users using the hashtag Gamergate. So this is a significant bump. We knew it was in the hundreds of thousands of unique users. So this gives us a pretty good number here. Of course, a whole lot of people have always said that there are only 10,000 people tweeting about Gamergate. Well, this puts that to rest right there. So already this paper is useful. We find that users involved in this Twitter war tend to have more friends and followers. And that right there tells me that OpSkynet, which is the hashtag that Gamergaters use to network with each other, that was extremely effective, obviously. A Gamergater would tweet out OpSkynet, and so everyone seeing that would follow that person. That lets them know they are in the Gamergate group. And in my book, which is going to eventually come out, I know some people are still asking about that. I'm working on it every day. One of my major points about Gamergate is that it is a network of people who are very well connected through that network. It is highly effective. They are able to pass information along very quickly, very rapidly, sometimes to their detriment. That's somehow you can get fake news going through there pretty quickly if it is fake, if it hasn't been checked. But it's also very effective, and it allows Gamergaters to dogpile, which, of course, a lot of people consider dogpiling to be harassment. Personally, I don't. I think, if you're broadcasting a public message on Twitter, you're going to get people talking back to you. So if you say something stupid to, however hundreds of millions of people are on Twitter, you shouldn't really expect any privacy unless you turn off your account, of course, unless you turn it to private. But that allows Gamergaters to say, oh, look at this idiot. And so then Gamergaters jump in and say, hey, you're being an idiot. This person all of a sudden goes, oh, shit, look at all these people. Look at all my mentions. And they freak out. That's one of the big problems about Gamergate. It's more of a misunderstanding than it is, harassment, I would say. There has been harassment in there, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that. So let's go through the paper. I have not read the paper yet. So this is going to be my first time. I'm not going to go through and read word for word. We're going to skip over quite a bit of it. Right here. They explore a slice of the Gamergate controversy by analyzing 1.6 million tweets from 340,000 users. So it's important to note that those 340,000 users are not the only ones who have tweeted Gamergate. So we know that it's more than 340,000 people. They just took a slice out of it. And so that's important to mention. They took 1 million of their tweets were, let's see, where is it? They list it somewhere around here. 1 million of their tweets, I saw that they are just people using the tag, and then they took another 600,000 of them that they thought were particularly negative, and they analyzed that. So let's go down to blah, blah, blah. Methodology. Data collection. Besides Gamergate, good examples are Black Lives Matter and Pizzagate. So they may very well have looked through a whole bunch of tweets about pineapple on pizza, which is fine with me, because if you support pineapple on pizza, you are objectively a pretty bad person. I mean, objectively. I'm with Game Objective, so you can't really argue with that. So they looked through some keywords, extracted keywords to see, probably to look at whether they're negative or not, abuse related. Oh look, a little formula here. So far, it's nothing surprising. Oh, they did list in the little executive summary that Gamergaters are more active. And that's something I mentioned in one of my previous videos. And I thanked my followers. And for those of you who follow me, I thank you. Because I have 2,630 followers, I believe. That's not very many in Twitter. But my followers are extremely active. I get retweets and likes and responses to a lot of my tweets, and I can go to a lot of different people and see they have 20,000 followers, and they'll get 4 likes on a tweet, or they'll get 2 responses maybe. It's a little crazy. So I agree with that. Yeah, I believe Gamergate supporters are far more active on Twitter. They're better connected. They have more followers. None of that is surprising yet. Here you go. We collected 2 data sets, a random sample of 1 million tweets and a set of 660,000 tweets, which are likely to contain abusive behavior. Blah, 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 data processing, cleaning. Oh, this paragraph is interesting. As mentioned, Gamergate serves as a seed for a snowball sampling of other hashtags likely associated with cyberbullying and aggressive behavior. We include tweets with hashtags appearing in the same tweets as Gamergate. Overall, we reached 308 hashtags during the data collection period, and they do contain a number of hate words such as International Feminist Day. I stand with hate speech. Oh, and kill all N-words. Obviously, kill all N-words is inarguably hate word, I guess they call it. Whatever, that's fine. International Offend a Feminist Day, and I stand with hate speech. That's, you have to understand Gamergate to understand those aren't exactly hate words. If you're those are more trolling words, I guess, which of course a lot of these people consider trolling to be hate. But really, these I stand with hate speech is, for the most part, Gamergaters just saying they support free speech. So let's move on to the results. And this one is interesting. One of my Twitter followers who is anti-Gamergate was talking to me about this. Hi, Mike. He was saying that it looks like they are, well, let's see. For the most part, Gamergate users tend to have older accounts, a mean of about 3 years. That's somewhat surprising, considering it. I believe they took their data out of 2016, and of course Gamergate started in 2014. So these people weren't just starting during Gamergate, unless I'm reading this wrong. I'm not giving this a very thorough reading. I apologize. I might write up an article about this to give it a more thorough analysis. But I did want to get it on the live stream and talk to you guys. For one, to get live stream up and to do this more in the future, and 2, just because I thought it'd be interesting to go through it with you all live. The oldest account in our dataset belongs to a Gamergate user. Only 26% of baseline accounts are older than the mean value of the Gamergate users. Figure 2A indicates that Gamergate users were existing Twitter users drawn to the controversy. In fact, their familiarity with Twitter could be the reason that Gamergate exploded in the first place. That's interesting. So that shows that these are not new sock puppet accounts, as has been argued by many. Of course, part of the narrative is that Gamergate is 10,000 sock puppet accounts just created, or it's 10 people who created 1,000 sock puppets each, and so that these are all new accounts. I believe Randy Harper, who, as you know, I'm no fan of, talked about this, how they're all new accounts. So we now have some good data to show, no, that's bullshit. They plot the distribution of the number of tweets made by Gamergate users and random users. Yeah, fun with little data tables here. Can you guys see this okay? Let me zoom in a little bit. Alright, this is nothing really interesting. But the newness of the accounts, that is interesting. That, as my follower Mike had said, that we're going to have to look into that a little bit more to really figure that out. It does surprise me somewhat that these are older Twitter users, but it does make sense considering how Gamergate users are technologically more intelligent than your average person. You know, these are hardcore gamers. They are hardcore tech users. They're early adopters. So it makes sense that they're on Twitter, they're on other social media before most people. How social are Gamergaters? Gamergaters are involved in what we would typically think of antisocial behavior. However, this is somewhat at odds with the fact that their activity takes place primarily on social media. So, this sentence, Gamergaters are involved in what we would typically think of antisocial behavior. You know, that I wouldn't mind some evidence behind that statement, but it is what it is. You know, I would think, well, I guess you could say it's antisocial behavior. You know, there certainly is antisocial behavior within Gamergate, but Gamergate itself is a social movement. You know, it's connecting with other people. So, of course, this is at odds with the fact that it takes place on social media. They plot the distribution of friends and followers for Gamergate users. And as I said, of course, with Op Skynet, it was extremely effective. And Gamergaters know each other, even though it's obviously a large community. They know who to follow, and information gets through quickly. So we've already covered that. How different is Gamergate's content? Emoticons and uppercase tweets. So they looked at shouting by using all capital letters. That's some brilliant analysis there. Based on the nature of Gamergate, we would expect a relatively low number of emoticon usage. But many tweets that would be shouting in all uppercase letters. I'm just imagining. Let's scroll up to see. We have all these doctors. They're probably a couple of them probably have PhDs. A couple of them are probably working on their PhDs. But we have, it looks like 6 of them, and they likely all got together in a conference call and went over their methodology, and they decided, in that meeting, well, let's look at which ones have shouted at each other or used shouting all capital letters. It's hard for me to imagine them sitting together and say, yeah, that's a good idea. As mentioned, Gamergate users are savvy Twitter users, and shouting tends to be ignored. Because they're savvy Twitter users, they don't typically use shouting all caps. Thus, one explanation for this behavior is that Gamergate users avoid such a simple tell as posting in all uppercase to ensure their message is not so easily dismissed. Yeah, it's because they know the internet and they're not idiots. I mean, I could have told them that, and they could have saved, I don't know, quite a bit of time, I guess. Are Gamergaters suspended more often? Very interesting. A Twitter user can be in one of the following 3 statuses, blah, blah, blah. So, it tells you everything you need to know in this table. This really is the probably the best information in this whole report here. Baseline users that are active, 2/3 of people are active on Twitter, and almost 9 out of 10 Gamergate supporters are active. Again, that makes sense. Deleted accounts, Gamergate supporters delete their accounts at about 1/3 the rate of normal people do. And they are suspended significantly less than people are, it looks like. Let me read this more to make sure. Baseline users are more prone to be suspended or delete their accounts than Gamergate users. The difference is going to be significant too, especially when you're looking at 1 million accounts or 1.6 million. That's a significant difference. So Gamergaters are going to probably jump all over that. Look, we're not as bad as you people say we are. And they're somewhat right. Looking at the suspended number, they are punished much less than the base population of Twitter. Okay, let's read a little bit of this here. This seems to be in line with the behavior in Figure 2A, which shows that Gamergate has been the platform for a longer period of time. Somewhat surprising given their exhibited behavior. If you're surprised at their exhibited behavior, well, I'm not surprised at their exhibited behavior. I'm not sure why these people are surprised, because it doesn't take all that much research. But indeed, a small portion of these users may be spammers who are difficult to detect and filter out. They're just throwing that out there with no evidence. Hey, this might be happening. It might not be happening. So, who cares? Nevertheless, Twitter has made significant effort to address spam, and we suspect there is a higher presence of such accounts in the baseline dataset, since the Gamergate dataset is very much focused around a somewhat niche topic. Yeah, that could be true. Spam accounts get suspended far more often. There's no good way to detect that without having direct access to Twitter's information, which no one's going to get. These efforts are less apparent when it comes to the bullying and aggressive behavior phenomena observed on Twitter in general, and in our study of Gamergate users in particular. However, Twitter has increased its effort to combat the existing harassment cases, for instance, by preventing suspended users from creating new accounts. Blah, blah, blah. What they've done is made things difficult for retweets. For example, Marcus, I don't know if you're still here or not. When Notch has retweeted me, I don't know if you all know, but he's done it twice now, where he has retweeted things that I've posted, and within an hour or two, they're gone. I don't get any notification that they are there or not, that he retweeted me. I just see a bunch of people saying, including Notch in the thread, but I don't see anything by him. And then I go to his timeline, there's nothing there. And that's happened twice now. So, there's strange things afoot with Twitter. A lot of people are talking about how they have not seen, they click on one of my posts and they'll see that there are 6 responses, but they'll only see 2. So, very strange things are afoot with Twitter. A lot of people attribute it to maliciousness on Twitter's part. They're trying to censor. It's their quality filter, and yeah, I'm sure it is the quality filter. But I am still not convinced that people at Twitter know exactly what they're doing, and that this is really the outcome that they are looking for. So, what's that razor? Is it Dawkins? Or I forget who it is, but don't assume malice when stupidity is the likely answer. I think that applies largely to Twitter. Okay, so finally the conclusion. This paper presented a first-of-its-kind effort to quantitatively analyze the Gamergate controversy, and that's, well, first of its kind to collect these tweets, but my survey is quantitative analysis, so bite me. But first of their kind, yeah, okay, first of their kind, but not the first quantitative analysis, certainly. And mine wasn't the first quantitative analysis either. Chris Sesselveys was also quantitative analysis, and other people have done some surveying. So, yeah. Although focused on a narrow slice of time, we found that in general, users tweeting about Gamergate appear to be Twitter savvy and quite engaged with the platform. Duh. They produce more tweets than random users, yeah, and have more friends and followers as well. Surprisingly, we observed that while expressing more negative sentiment overall, these users only differed significantly from random users with respect to joy. Why are you people not joyful? What the hell's wrong with you? I talked a little bit about this on Twitter, that it makes sense because people tweeting Gamergate have a problem. They have a problem with gaming media or mainstream media or censorship or SJWs or any number of things. That's why they're tweeting about Gamergate. It's almost like saying Black Lives Matter users are more concerned about race. Duh. So I guess that's really my assessment of this paper, is those three little letters. Duh. So those are my thoughts. Let's look on YouTube and see what kind of comments we get. And I know this is probably going to spam you guys a bit. Let's see. Oh, Marcus, hi. You never leave. That's kind of problematic, Marcus. You kind of should leave. Bias sneaking in. Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue that there's no bias in the paper. These people obviously, especially with that one guy tweeting that Gamergate is a hell dump or garbage fire or dumpster fire or something like that. Well, they can't. Their paper does not support that conclusion, so he obviously has some bias in that. Let's scroll up a little bit more. Newness of accounts would make sense if people wanted to keep it away from their main accounts that might have their names. Yeah, Gamergate people. I noticed, especially with my survey, how Gamergate supporters were legitimately and are legitimately afraid that their support of Gamergate will affect their personal lives. And I had people, in my survey, I told people that they could make a burner email account. You could just make whatever, Hotmail or Gmail, any anonymous email account, doesn't matter, so long as you have access to it and you are able to receive my email and respond back to me. I didn't care what your email address was. And still, there were several users who had problems with that. And the one in particular, and I told him there, and I'm quoting him in my book, is he said that this survey is akin to Jews signing up, signing a registry during the Nazi era, which is rather hyperbolic. But what that told me is how important privacy was to a lot of Gamergate supporters. So yeah, many of them that did take significant steps to protect their privacy. And it's also understandable given Ben Kuchera going after kid working at Dick's Sporting Goods. People did lose their jobs because of Gamergate. So, yeah, that could be possible. Scott says, I've had 5 Twitter accounts since it started. God, Scott, you're a geek. But you created one to communicate with folks, so it looks new. Yeah. No proof other than the mainstream media articles quoted at the beginning. Yes, the mainstream... 90% of the problem with Gamergate and public perception of Gamergate is how the mainstream media has reported on it. And because the mainstream has reported poorly on the whole thing, that is picked up by Wikipedia. Wikipedia won't cite my survey because it doesn't go through the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post. Instead, they'll cite these horrible articles that go through, Vox and Vice and all these others. So, yeah, that's part of the big problem there. Let's keep going. Blackburn and Cristofaro were antagonizing Gators on Twitter. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There's also the new Twitter bullshit where replies are hidden unless you log out. Yeah, that's... A lot of times you have to right-click on it and open things in incognito mode. It's stupid. Marcus, it is possible you unretweeted my post. I don't think so, because 1, it happened twice, and 2, I never got notifications that you retweeted me. So, if you retweet me and then delete it, I should still have a notification. Yeah, Chris Von, something beat us both. He did great analysis of Gamergate, although, that it's mostly useful for showing us the network of Gamergate and showing us how many numbers there are, which was very good. The thing that bugs me about the paper is that every time they find something that contradicts the narrative, they throw out an excuse supported by no evidence of any kind. Yeah, that's they threw out several I don't know if I call them excuses, but they threw out a few questions that they had, possible answers to these problems that they expected. It would have been nicer if they just went through actual evidence and just, this is what the evidence says. So, how many of these reports have to be done before the narrative can change? Hedger, the narrative is not going to change. The media is against Gamergate, and they've made it clear. And I've talked about this before, but when I was farming around the interview with Marcus, thank you again, Marcus, by the way. Now you can see me. It's nice to see you. I sent, I didn't send the actual interview, but I sent the pitch to several different online places, and one of them sent back. Part of the pitch is I said Marcus talked about this, and this, and I listed probably 8 different items, and one of them was Gamergate, because one of the questions. He brought Gamergate up. I wasn't intending to talk to him about it, but he brought it up, so I asked him about it. And so I put Gamergate in there. And the response that I got back was, we don't talk about Gamergate on our website. And I said, well, that's just one question. And honestly, it's not all that big of a deal of a question, because really, Marcus just said that he just thought the whole thing was embarrassing, and he didn't say that much about it because he's not involved in it. And so I said, that's not a big deal. We talked about 9,000 words of a whole lot of other stuff. And they said, well, no, we're not going to give him a platform to speak. No, they said explicitly that. So this is a major website with other sub-websites. And they will not give Gamergate a platform, although they have written about Gamergate since then, negatively, of course. And they won't give anyone a platform who even mentions Gamergate. They won't give people like Marcus Persson a platform to expound on his opinions that are controversial when you look at them on Twitter, but when you actually talk to him and you get a feeling of for what he really means with well, he really means what he says on Twitter, but he expands on his opinions, then you see a human being, and they didn't want any part of that. So yeah, that's what you're going against, these websites. That's why it's important to support independent media. www.patreon.com. So, okay, everyone. You didn't know I was a white male at the time. No, thanks, Marcus. Oh, look at Scott's trying to get Marcus on his. Yeah, get the celebrity. So, all right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining me. I very much appreciate it. I'm going to get more professional with this stuff. I think I'm going to try. If you saw my podcast, I'm now using OBS, so things should look better. We're working on it. Also working on trying to get more people to contribute to Game Objective. As I said yesterday in the podcast, for those of you who do support me on Patreon, hopefully some of you are in the audience, thank you. Thank you very much as always. This is the last day of the month, so you will be charged tomorrow. So this is your last warning. If you want to pull out now, or you'll pull out too late, and pulling out too late is never a good idea. So, thank you all for joining me. I'm going to hit my stop streaming button, and I'll end the stream. And let me know on Twitter what you think. You always do, and I very much appreciate it. And I look for a possible. I'm not sure if I'm going to do an editorial on this because it's not saying much. It's just basic stuff. Maybe I will. I was considering doing an editorial on Ben Kuchera and Polygon's sudden interest in sex, especially with regards to Mass Effect Andromeda and the banging, and the Warp 69 sexy town. Oh, God, does that hurt to say. So I was considering doing an editorial on that first. So we'll see. I'm not sure if I'll write this one up or not, because it's full of sound and fury signifying nothing. It's nothing really surprising. The only really interesting thing, as my Twitter follower Mike said, was the newness of the accounts. That's something we'll have to figure out. I love this screen with the whole... but that's something we'll have to figure out. I'm also considering releasing my Gamergate data a little early. So... we'll see about that. But otherwise, that's it. Thank you for joining me. I will continue to do some of these live streams because they're kind of fun for me too. So, thank you. Again, we will see you next time.